worlds going to emerge at once, all with kind of distinct cultures and people within them.
We're creating a platform where people don't just play, but they're starting to learn together.
I think is fundamentally one of the strongest you can find in tech land.
What's new is this concept of maybe we can have these different metaverses.
It's sort of like Minecraft meets Lego meets GitHub for young kids.
Hey, Mark, it's John. So you like Meta, but I wonder, how are you modeling the metaverse? I'm saying I'm a metaverse skeptic because people are lumping in things like immersive gaming with AR, VR stuff from the likes of Facebook that they've been working on for a while but hasn't really taken off. They've changed their name, but is there more reason than there was in the past to believe that this is going to become a business in the near to medium term?
Yeah, well, look, I think obviously Metaverse is being thrown around quite a bit since Facebook and Microsoft came up with their announcements. I would say that it's there's really lots of ways to look at what the Metaverse is. Roblox has kind of its own little world that it's building, and it's a it's a really cool world. It's sort of like Minecraft meets Lego meets GitHub for young kids. But the thing about Roblox is it's kind of a closed ecosystem, and the future of gaming, I believe, is where the assets are decentralized and there's open economies and there's open ways for people to earn while they play and participate as like first-class citizens in an environment that they have ownership in. So, I hope that sort of makes sense of where I'm going. But essentially, I think that there's worlds where you have augmented reality experiences, you can have VR experiences, and then you can take your assets from different metaverses to other places as well.
Like if you look back at Second Life as an example, there is some of that. There are sort of like pornographic areas of the game, and there are gambling areas of the game, and there are like very kid-friendly versions or areas of the game. So I think there will be these niche areas that break out. I don't know that porn or gambling, benefits especially from the metaverse or from some sort of like immersive 3D environment. I think if anything, these things just, you probably don't want your pornographic engagements managed on the blockchain because, it's just like very traceable, and it's probably like the last thing you want, carved into stone, for all time. So I think, that stuff is probably more likely to stay where it is with traditional finance.
What about usability? Because, I've been telling my coworkers, I finally got my hands dirty with the Axie Infinity last week. And my God, I'm sorry, it was a horrible experience. I had to transfer ETH from a MetaMask wallet to their wallet, and $200 got vaporized. And then I had to buy, 3 of these creatures. And it just was not a friendly experience. Who's taking the lead in smoothing out that UX and making this, we always talk about in tech, the Netscape moment and a browser where suddenly it all comes together for the normies. I'm not seeing this yet in the crypto world. So who's going to make, the NFT world and the metaverse approachable? Because frankly, Facebook, I think, can do it. I think most of us hope they don't do it. It'd be better if, I think people like you did it. But I'm not seeing anyone take the obvious lead in making this stuff accessible. So can you comment on that?
Yeah, some of that comes down to the chain. The fees on Ethereum are relatively high compared to the fees on Solana or some other chains. So I think you'll see this transition of new projects move to chains with lower fees. So I think that's part of it. But this is like a constant ongoing cycle where something becomes successful, gets more expensive, and then people move on to another chain. There are obviously scaling solutions coming to Ethereum as well. So that hopefully will solve some of the fee problems. But as far as, who's going to win the metaverse game or who builds the best experience, I really think it's going to be fragmented and sort of federated in a way across the chain where you'll have these common assets that exist on the chain and you can move between quote unquote metaverses. I don't think there'll be any single metaverse. You could think of World of Warcraft as one metaverse, and Diablo 2 as a different metaverse, and RuneScape as a third metaverse, or Axie or Facebook. And, some of these will be games and they won't have items that are compatible across the games, but maybe there'll be some skins that are compatible across the games. And I think it's the same for Facebook and other kind of proprietary platforms, where I think they'll support these blockchain assets and some representation of them in their world. And they'll all have different rules. And I don't think anyone's going to have a monopoly on this.
Yeah, and again, with the same theme, was what you said also apply to blockchains? Because, I think it's hard not to think in historical, analogies, even though they might not always be accurate. But I'm old enough to remember the early days of Silicon Valley and search. And there was, once upon a time, there was like 8 search engines, and you didn't know who it was going to be. Was it going to be Alta Vista or this? And then it became Google. To what degree is there going to be one chain to rule them all, or is there room for sort of a thriving ecosystem where there's 5 or 10 or 20 chains that your average consumer is going to be interacting with, say, 2 or 5 years from now?
I think there is room for a lot of different chains that serve a lot of different purposes. And if you have a specific use case in mind, you can design a chain that does that thing very well, where it may have an advantage over a generalized system. I think Bitcoin is still the best at storing value. I think it's still the best at security. So, I don't see Bitcoin being disrupted in the near term. I think the game for smart contracts is totally up for grabs. I think Ethereum is a dominant player now, but you see Polkadot and Solana and some other chains coming up that maybe could steal a lot of that thunder from Ethereum with regard to smart contracts. So I think we'll continue to see an evolution of these chains. I think it's anybody's game right now. And I think we ultimately end up in a world where there are lots of successful chains that are operating simultaneously.
Business is much stronger than we thought. This was the month that all the people who were betting against you were going to say, hey, it collapsed. Everyone's back to school. No one wants us. You are now part of the firmament, aren't you, sir?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been optimistic, Jim. We're creating a platform where people don't just play, but they're starting to learn together, work together, experience entertainment together. And what we saw in October is 2 things. One, hopefully people are getting back more and more to their normal lives, and we're moving through COVID. But at the same time, I mean, we saw incredible results. Q3 bookings over 600 million, 638. Incredible. October growth very, very strong. So it validates our vision of the platform we're building.
This is obviously your major focus, the amount of money you are spending on this. Tell our audience why this is important for Roblox.
Yeah, we have a 200 million people every month coming to our platform, and safety and civility is a foundation that we've built our platform on. We started, as you correctly know, with younger players, and we provided an opportunity for them to safely connect with friends, connect with people they can't be in touch with in the real world. So we have a lot of people working on this, thousands of people in the cloud 24/7, keeping our society civil. And we believe it's a great foundation to grow from.